occurrence never happened again. That's the idea. And so it has it's a mictum. It's a not only in that is it teaching, but it's also one of those demanding things, if you will. It's one of those things that were instructed by the king to his military force, and it was not to be ignored. And so the theme of this psalm is the lament over that particular defeat in the early stages of that battle. Now we're going to look at the historical background, and I penciled in for you 1 Chronicles 19 and chapter 20 also, because I was getting ready to leave with this, and I realized I'd left that off the outline. But it's 2 Samuel 8, and that gives you the glorious victory, you know. I guess that's kind of like reading the New York Post, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then you get the other side. And the First Chronicles, maybe not quite as, let's say, awe-inspired of the king, if you will. So you get 2 points of view in this battle, and we're gonna look at it. But remember, it's a lament, but it is instructed to be used in the drill for the archers to remember what a sorry performance they had put on earlier. And so this became standard, if you will, in the training of the archers of that particular day. Something and you've watched enough TV and these military training clips, and you hear them sing, and as they, Casman, did you ever hear them run through the housing area singing? The Marines? Yeah. They sing different chants, don't they? Some not, we will not repeat here, will we? Yeah. Yeah. We ran through the housing area doing that a couple of times, and they changed our course of run. Couldn't run through the housing area anymore. For some reason, we were vile and profane. So we had to change the song, so I knew you'd heard those. But these songs, chants, remind military people what they are doing or not doing. So that's what this is about. Now, let's go to the background, and then we'll come read. Let's look at 2 Samuel chapter 8. Yeah, 2 Samuel chapter 8. Like I said, this is a good story. It is, and we're going to look at it. What you're doing, and someone says, what do you get out of the Psalms? And study of the Psalms. That's nothing but studying a songbook. Well, what you learn from the Psalms, you put together the histories of 1 and 2 Samuel. You put together the histories of some of the wilderness wanderings with Moses, Psalms, and you put together 1st and 2nd Chronicles, 1st and 2nd Kings. They come together for you in these Psalms, because these Psalms are songs from the different historical aspects of what the history writers are talking about. So in chapter 8, now this is David, and you're going to notice he's doing a fantastic job as far as you're getting this side of David. In verse 1, after this it came to pass that David smote the Philistines and subdued them, and David took the bridle of the mother city out of the hand of the Philistines. So he is taking the lead over this, and he smote Moab, measured him with a line. Here's one of the bloody moments in the life of David. He lines them up in 3 lines, and then he allows every third man to live, and the other 2 are put to death. And the Moabites became servants to David, and they brought tribute. Well, what he did was destroy all the manpower, destroy all the will of the nation to fight when he allowed every third man to live, and of course killed the rest of them. So he destroyed the army. That's what armies do. You know, they destroy things and kill people. That's what armies do. And there's no easy way to say that. And David smote also Hadadezer, the son of Rehob, king of Zobab. We read about him later as he came to recover his dominion at the river, the Euphrates. That's the border. That is the eastern, northeastern border to the Promised Land. All right. So David is returning to the Israelites, the borders that were given by God for the Promised Land originally. And David took from him 1,700 horsemen and 20,000 footmen, and David hocked all the chariot horses. What happens, Bob, when you hock a horse? Properly. He can still be used maybe to plow a vegetable garden or something, but he is no longer able to be a war horse, is he? They hock the horses. That sounds cruel, but in effect, that's like blowing out all the tires of your pickup truck and letting you bounce around on the flat tires. I mean, you can get where you're going, but it's not going to be easy. So this is are you getting the picture here? This is it's one of them wipeout moments in history, all right? It's one of them wipeout moments, and I know it's not the most pleasant of reading, but it's going to give you the background for the rest of this. And when the Syrians, now it's called in other places Aram, but they're Syrians. I want to clear up something. We have in that part of the world today, we have the Israelis and what they call today Palestinians. But the Palestinian name came about primarily through Yasser Arafat. They're Arabians. They're Arabs. All right? Palestinian is a nice name given to a bunch of bloodthirsty headhunters. Okay? They're Arabs. That's what they are. All right? They're Arabians. And so the short for that's Arabs. So the Syrians, say Syria is fighting today, and that battle's gone on hundreds of years. David smote of the Syrians 22,000. Then David put garrisons in Syria of Damascus. See, you know, that's the capital city. And he had overcome them and even put an outpost there. And the Bible says, and Jehovah saved David whithersoever he went. Or one translation says, he gave victory to David. And he took the shields of gold and of the servants and brought them to Jerusalem. He took also a lot of brass. And so all of this is coming to enrich the kingdom. From this is going to come the monies to build the temple later on. And then you got Toa, the king of Hamath, heard David had smitten all the host of Hadadezer. And when Toa sent Joram, his son, unto King David to salute him, bless him, because he had fought against Hadadezer and smitten him. So they had fought there, so they formed an allegiance here. They paid tribute, and the Bible says that he subdued Syria, Moab, and the children of Ammon, the Philistines, and Amalek, and he got spoilful all of them. And David got him a name when he returned from smiting the Syrians in the valley of Salt, even 18,000 men. And he put garrisons in Edom. Remember, that's the ancient brother of Israel, if you will. That's from what particular figure that traded his birthright for a bowl of beans? Esau. These are Esau's people. So he has conquered Edom, and all the Edomites became servants, and Jehovah gave victory to David whichsoever he will. And at this point, look at this. And David reigned over all Israel, and he executed justice and righteousness to all his people, and Joab was over the host. All right, so there's Joab. Now, that's a pretty picture right there, isn't it? Everything is at ease. The border's been restored. There's tribute pouring in. David's putting it all together to build the temple. Solomon will build it, but David. So it's a picture of the land, if you will, is having prosperity now under David. And Joab, of course, is the mighty general in charge of all of this under David. Well, that doesn't tell us anything about the psalm, does it? Other than there's a lot of battle going on. Other than that one expression, and Jehovah saved David. That's, Jehovah saved David. That's what the Hebrew tells us there in verse 6. And Jehovah saved David. Well, let's look in 1 Chronicles 19. Yeah, it'll give us a little better picture, and I'm just going to kind of skim this because this probably, for some of you, is not the best of reading. Oh, yeah, it starts in verse 6. Here's Ammon. They made themselves odious to David. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So this is going to go bad. This is going to go bad, and you can read part of this. The children of Ammon gathered themselves together and came to the battle. When David heard of it, he sent Joab and all the host of the mighty men and the children of Ammon. Now, we already know they lost. I already read you that. They're laid down in 3 lines, and 2 out of every 3 are killed. We already know that, but this tells you a little something about the battle. Now, verse 10 is a clue to the 60th Psalm. Now, when Joab saw that the battle was set against him before and behind, so what's that tell you? He's in trouble. Yeah, if he's in front and behind him, what's that tell you? That's kind of like Custer at the Little Bighorn, I mean, he's in a bad way. That's what I'm telling you. See, 2 Samuel doesn't give you, it gives you the victory and the wonder of David. It does. While the Chronicles and the Kings will give you the nuts and bolts of the thing and show you that, things didn't. Remember what we read in 2 Samuel 8? And Jehovah saved David. All right? Well, I thought he was all wonderful. Well, something was going on. And that something going on was things wasn't going well with Joab out there. All right? Some historians are reading Lupo's work on this, and he said that it was a failure of archers in the outset of the struggle. They had, for some reason, they didn't get on the right page, and so that's why the Psalm's written to be sung at the practice of all of the archers, the bowmen. So they never forget that they goofed and cost them. And then you can read through this, and then you read in verse 13, be of good courage and let us play the man for our people, So that tells you something. We've got to play the man here, Yeah, this may not go well, but we're going to play the man anyway. And so Joab and the people with him drew near before the Syrians in the battle, and verse 14, and they fled before him. When the children of Ammon saw the Syrians were fled, they likewise fled and entered into the city, and then Joab came to Jerusalem. Now the Syrians, we already read about the victory, but see, in the initial battle phase, it didn't go well. It didn't go well. So Jehovah saved David. Remember that. Now let's go to the Psalm. You've got the background. I hurried a little because I want to at least get through the Psalm. But I want you, in your study of these good people, remember you're not just reading a song. These songs come out of the experiences of the writers, whether it may be one of awe and majesty like Moses, and then recognizing that our days are numbered. So teach us, O Lord, to number our days that we may get us a heart of wisdom. That's the 90th Psalm. Moses pens that. And I will lift mine eyes up to the mountains from which cometh my help. And so there's the 121st Psalm, and there's another experience as this song is written to remind. You know, for some reason we remember songs or musical. You know, the commercial world has capitalized on that. Because the little jingle, remember when the TVs were relatively new to most of us years ago, and they were black and white and it looked like watching a polar bear in a snowstorm. Remember that? And then you'd hear this 3-note sound. Remember what it was like? Anybody? I almost had it. And they say, a word from our sponsor. All right? And then there'd be some little jingle come on, you know. And be some little song about something. You remember the coffee pot song? Doot, 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 and the perk and all that. And if your TV was clear enough, you could see it popping in the percolator or, you know, thing. But the little musical jingles, they stayed with our generation. They did, little song. Even the bad commercials nowadays that are so horrible. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. Remember those? Yeah, we do. And they stayed in our brain. See, and now, of course, these that are younger than some of us, oh, nasty old cigarettes, you'd sing about them. Well, times have changed. You know, we grew up in an era where everybody raised tobacco where I lived. We had a 4-acre tobacco allotment. We sold tobacco when it was ready. The tobacco buyers come by and paid us, and we took that money and paid the place. It was the money crop, the cash crop. Paid taxes and stuff, and everybody chewed, dipped, or smoked, you know, and they all used it. And but that's not so today. It's not so. But look, oh God, thou hast cast us off. Thou hast broken us down. That's a Joab in the first scrimmage. David's writing. Remember Joab, he's surrounded. And we read of that. Thou hast been angry, O restore us again. Thou hast made the land to tremble. Thou hast torn it. Heal the breaches thereof, for it shakes. Now you realize this is figurative language, that the land is shaking, that the land's being torn apart. And what he's talking about, of course, is the nation. And, of course, if the army falls, the nation falls. And that's the idea. Thou hast showed thy people hard things. Thou had us made us to drink the wine of staggering. Thou hast given a banner to them that fear thee, that it may be displayed because of thy truth. Well, what Joab said, we've got to play the man today. You know, the fun times are over. We've got to stand here like men and take whatever comes. That thy beloved may be delivered. Save with thy right hand and answer us, or answer me. One translation says, God hath spoken in his holiness. I will exalt. I will divide Shechem and mete out the valley of Succoth. Gilead is mine and Manasseh is mine. Ephraim also is the defense of my head. He's describing now the land, the promised land. And this is the land I live. This is the land I love. And with you is my strong deliverer. You know, I can carry on my way of life. That's what he's talking about. Gilead, Manasseh, you know, these are the land was divided up and given to the tribes and the half-tribe of Manasseh and Ephraim. Ephraim also is the defense of my head. Judah is my lawgiver, or my scepter. Of course, in Judah is the capital city. And what's the capital city? Jerusalem. You know, what's Isaiah said? For from Jerusalem shall go forth the law and the word of Jehovah. So Jerusalem was recognized as the center of God's truth. And so he uses that, you see, in this psalm where he says that Judah is my scepter, or it's the law, the place of the law, or the place where the law goes out from out of the capital city of Jerusalem, which is in, of course, Judah. Moab is my washpot. What's a 50 years ago, what a washpot looked like? Huh? A big cast iron pot. And what did it look like after you used it a little bit, Sue? Oh, no, now, come on. Was it all black and smeared? Right, okay. And after you did the washing, got the water out and did the washing for it, sometimes they make soap when they make lye soap in that thing. But the washpot isn't equivalent with the scepter. So Judah is the scepter, right? You know what a scepter is? It's a real pretty ornamental, what do you say, Bob? A stick with a knob on the end of it. Will that work? You'll go with that. Okay, so a scepter is a real pretty ornamental stick with something on it that a king holds, and it represents the law. And it's real pretty. Sometimes they are covered over with precious metals, and they may have a couple of rare jewels glittering in them. So now there's the picture. You got it? Judah is the scepter. Yeah, and Moab is the washpot. So if you get the picture, yeah, you can't miss this if you understand what a washpot looks like. Well, I wouldn't use yours. Yeah. All right, if you use the wash bowl, it's a place, used to, we always had we call them dish pans, but you couldn't do dishes in them. They sat outside, and you had a towel hanging, and you had the wash bowl. You come in, and, you washed your rusty neck and your hands and your face and threw back your hair, used the towel that everybody used, went in, sat down, and first thing your mom said, "Did you wash your hands?" "Well, yeah, you did." "What'd you dry them on?" That towel that used to be white looks like a toe sack now, because everybody's dried their hands on it. All right. So the wash bowl's the same thing. It's the idea of, it's one of the lower utensils of life. So this is a contrast between utensils. One of them is a scepter, a status of the kingly power and law, and the other is, wash pot, dirty, sooty thing, or wash bowl. It's where everybody washes their hands and all the dirt and filth off of them, and throw the water out in the yard. It's a contrast. That's what it is. It's a contrast between high and lofty and low and dirty. Is that a good way to say it? Okay, let's go on. We've got dirty, right? You got dirty in your mind. Now, here's an Eastern expression you saw with the CNN News during Desert Storm, probably, and that is, "Upon Edom will I cast my shoe." And they still do that over today. They take off their shoe and to show disdain, they throw it at somebody or hit somebody with it, or that's either what it means, or "I'll walk all over you." And does in translation have something like that? Okay. Or it might say, "Every place that I walk is mine." In other words, I'm going to walk all over you, and I'll walk all over your place. I'll walk all over your land. And so, what's the picture of that? Yeah. It is. So, in 2 Samuel 8, that's what we saw, wasn't it? Superiority of David. And, we didn't know why this psalm would be written, because look how it starts. O God, thou hast cast us off. Thou hast broken us down. Thou hast been angry, oh, restore us again. The thing's going terrible. But it doesn't end that way because of his confidence in God. So Moab's my washpot. I'm going to walk all over Eden. Philistia is going to scream or shout because of me. They're scared to death. They're scared to death. Who will bring me into the strong city? Who hath led me upon Edom? Hast not thou, O God, cast us off? I mean, he says, are we alone now? You promised us victory, and now what's going on? And thou goest not forth, O God, with our host. See, Joab's out there. What's happening to Joab? He's surrounded. Things are not looking good. Joab's archers have failed in the initial contact. I don't know what they were doing, but somewhere or other they failed. The archers have. So Joab is now surrounded, and of course you understand the archers are the long-range weapons. When the long-range weapons don't work, then you're up against it. You're there with your buckler and with your sword. So things get kind of gritty, all right? That's a good way to say it. Things get kind of gritty right there. Give us help against the adversary. For vain is the help of man. The army's not going to do it. So we need your help. Verse 12, through God we shall do valiantly. What did Joab say? We're going to have to play the what? Man. This is not going well. We're going to have to dig in here, and we're going to have to act like men. We're going to dig in, and we're going to act like men that we are, and we're going to fight. So, the fun times are over. This is going bad against us, but we're not going to retreat. For it is that will tread down our adversaries. So the king comes back. That's David. He comes back with a confidence. Man cannot do this. Can't send any more army out there. Won't help. He doesn't have any more to start with. But he can't send any more out there. So the battle is Jehovah's. And that's why the 2 Samuel 8 says, Jehovah saved David, for he's the king. If the army is destroyed, what happens to the king? Yeah. The invading victorious forces come right in, take the king right out of his palace, carry him off to captivity, put out his eyes, and do all those other horrible things. That's generally what happens. So, Jehovah has saved David. And so he acknowledges it, and that through God we shall do valiantly, for he it is that will tread down our adversaries. And so he gives the victory to God. Although at the start of this thing, it's not so good. And he's writing this. It's the song for the archers. And so they go through this dread chorus or phase of the song, stanza, if you will. And then, of course, it winds up with God is going to win for us. And so that's why it's a miktam. Remember that. And it's a different type of psalm that you might find yourself reading from time to time.